non-attachment to ideas, beliefs, kind of look as we look out into the world at this challenging time and we see what's going on and what people are doing, what people aren't doing, the changes that are being made around us. It's easy to feel frustrated, fearful, angry, disappointed about these things. And so the non-attachment piece comes to soften our own sense of struggle around those ideas and around those beliefs that we have in our mind. But then adding on the concept of ahimsa, or non-harming, non-harming to self, not necessarily to others. Because if we hang on too tightly to our attachments, and we do have some, even if it what could be considered low-level suffering, more mental kind of suffering, not necessarily, we're not struggling necessarily in the world, but by hanging on to our beliefs and having those attachments, we can cause our own self-suffering, which is the opposite of ahimsa towards self. So ahimsa is defined as non-harming, and if we're causing ourselves suffering, in essence, we're harming our well-being. Because if those things pervade, or if they're persistent and consistent, can have a larger impact over time in a form of stress response to the body. So ahimsa, non-harming. So we want to practice this as a way to reduce animosity that can build from those attachments and from that low-level suffering. Because if we're frustrated long enough, or sad long enough, or disappointed long enough, then this animosity begins to build, and that's where anger comes from. And not all of this happens at necessarily a conscious level. We don't purposely feel this way. We don't necessarily consciously think about these things, but they can be happening under the surface, and they kind of show up in people's lives a little bit differently. So before we can really apply ahimsa and non-harming to these things, there's another thing that we can practice. And that thing is called, that practice is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. And so that's in Sanskrit. And really what it means is to cultivate the opposite in a very specific way. So when we are moving through our days, and we hopefully have cultivated a sense of awareness of ourselves and our behaviors and our thought patterns and our action patterns, when we notice negative thoughts, when we notice negative feelings, or notice negative actions, cultivating the opposite of those things, Pratipaksha Bhavana, cultivating the opposite, moving ourselves in a more positive direction, which when we revisit and continue to visit and continue to work with that practice, if you do that, eventually you'll see a shift in the way that you feel, and in the way that you think, and the way that you're perceiving what's going on around you.